Hello friends, I'm Atul Dahale and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to look at one very nice game played by the 7th World Chess Champion Vasily Smyslov. Smyslov in this game shows us the power of the knight in the center of the board. Yes, we often hear this time we should centralize our pieces, and if we can place or establish a piece in the center of the board, then it gives us a lot of power, especially if the knight is there in the center of the board. Then it can control many different squares in the opponent's camp and it can lead to a devastating attack. That is exactly what happened in this game. So stay tuned till the end to understand how the knight in the center of the board helped Smyslov to win this game in a very nice fashion. So without further ado, let's get started. In this game, white was Smyslov, black was Rudakovsky. It was played in Moscow, 1945. The game started with e4. Black played c5, then knight to the f3 and e6. This is Sicilian defense, normal opening. Then d4, c into d4, knight to d4, knight f6. Black is attacking the pawn on e4. Well, sometimes we feel like, okay, I can play e5, but in this case it will be a mistake because black can play queen to the a5 check, attacking the king as well as the pawn on e5, and white cannot really save the pawn on e5. So he will lose. Let's suppose white plays knight to the c3, then queen into e5. Black will win the pawn. So that is not a good story for white. So white played knight to the c3, protecting the pawn on e4, and black plays d6 in this position. Now it's time to develop the piece. So white plays bishop to the e2. Slowly and gradually, white is developing his king side pieces so that he can play castle in this position. Then black also does the same thing. He plays bishop e7. White castles, black castles. Both the sides have completed their development towards the king side, so their kings are also safe in this position. White places another bishop in the center of the board. Now you can see that these pieces are very nicely placed in the center of the board. White has a nice pawn in the center of the board. It can control the squares, and black is also not doing that bad. Black is controlling everything, although he is in just playing in only 3 files, but 3 ranks. But the thing is that it is very solid structure from black side. That's why it is a very famous structure, that is Sicilian defense. So black in this position plays knight to the c6, creating some threats against white center. White plays f4, controls the e5 square. That is very important strategy. Then black plays queen to the c7. Now in this position there are many moves from white side. Well, white can play bishop to the f3 just to develop the bishop on f3 square, trying to get an eye on this diagonal. But Smyslov decides to place in a different way. He thinks that, okay, in this position, if I can create something on the king side, then it will be good. So how will he create any kind of attack on the king side? Well, he needs his pieces on that side. We cannot create any kind of attack if we don't have any pieces. So that's why he plays queen to the e1 with the idea of bringing the queen to the king side. And then there might be possibilities of playing f5 at some point, opening up this bishop. And then other possibilities are also there, like bringing this rook in the center of the board, trying to control the center. Also, the rook can lift on the king side. So these are the ideas behind queen to the e1. So black understands that, okay, he needs to play something good in the center of the board. So he plays knight into d4, bishop into d4 with the idea of playing e5. Why did he do this? Well, he wants to open up the bishop on this diagonal. So white in this position can play f into e5, but that will not be a good move from his side because it will help black. How? We'll see. If he plays f into e5, then black will obviously play d into e5. And now bishop is attacked, so bishop must move back. But you can see the bishop was little bit cramped when the pawn was there on d6 square. And by playing f into e5, actually we help black to open up the bishop, which was little bit passive. And now the bishop can come to the c5 square, and if white exchanges the pieces, then it will be good position for black because now his problems are solved. His bad bishop, which was sitting there on e7 square, is now free. So that is not something Smyslov wanted to do. But what happened after e5 is black has lost control on the d5 square. Until now, black had a pawn on e6 which was controlling the d5 square. Now the d5 square is weak. So let's see how Smyslov takes advantage of this thing. He plays bishop to the e3, not taking on e5. Then black obviously plays bishop to the e6, And now white plays a nice move. What he wants in this position? He wants to control the d5 square. So for that reason, he one by one starts removing the pieces which are controlling the d5 square. And which are the pieces which are controlling the d5 square? Yes, the bishop on e6 as well as the knight on f6. Once these two pieces are gone from the board, then white can put his knight on the d5 square, and that will be a great outpost for the knight. Okay, I'll tell you what is outpost. When the position reaches f5 is played, black plays bishop to the c4, and now white simply captures the bishop because we don't want that bishop on the board. Now what is the next step? Yes, as I told you, the knight on f6 should also be removed from the board. So white plays bishop to the g5. A very strategical, simple planning by white player. And now he plays rook f e8. And as per the plan, Smyslov plays bishop into f6 and bishop into f6. And now finally, what we wanted by all these exchanges, the control of the central square with our knight. So knight jumps on the d5 square, and it is called as the knight outpost. Why it is called an outpost? I will tell you. The knight outpost is like when the knight can stabilize in the center of the board without any attack. Now there is no piece which can attack, means minor piece which can attack the knight. Another thing is that there is no other pawn which can dislodge this knight from the d5 square. As we can see, the c pawn is already gone from the board. E pawn has been reached to the e5 square, so there is no possibility of playing e6. And also the knight is being supported by a pawn, so it is not unprotected. Also a very firm pawn is supporting the knight, and when this position happens, we say that the knight has an outpost. Outpost is also there. Like usually it is considered that we have 4 files on our side, 4 ranks on our side, and black will be having 4 ranks on his side, and our piece has gone in the opponent's camp. So that is why it is an outpost. Okay, so now the knight has reached to the outpost square, that is d5. What is he doing? Okay, he is controlling very important squares in black's camp. All these squares are being 4 squares are in black's camp, and now the bishop is being attacked. So black plays bishop to the d8, trying to control the knight by placing here. Now he is controlling knight squares on these diagonals, because as I told you, knight was already jumping on all these squares. Okay, so in this position, white, you might think that okay, what will white play now? The c2 pawn is being attacked. Another thing was like, if in this position black captures the pawn on c2, then what? Well, white can just play rook to the f2, because b2 pawn should be protected. And if it goes to the, let's suppose, a square queen c4 or queen c5 maybe, then we can even play rook to the c1, just attacking the queen. And if queen moves to the, let's suppose, d4 square or some other square, then knight c7 is also one of the moves by which can win the exchange, and this is the good news for white. So obviously black did not go for this kind of pawn capture. He plays bishop to the d8 in the position, and now white saves the pawn on c2 with c3 move. And after c3, black plays b5. He wants to create some counterplay on the queen side, and now very calmly white plays b3, attacking the queen on c4. It goes to the c5 check, then king to the h1. Now in this position, black plays rook to the c8, and it is now the time for white to exert pressure on the king side. As the knight is very well placed, the queen is not having any good squares in his own camp, and that's why white plays rook to the f3. Now rook is threatening to go on h file, and there is also possibility of queen swinging over to the h4 square. Okay, I know that the bishop is there, we will take care of it. So rook f3 is played, and now king h8. So after this, as I told you, the bishop is there to control this diagonal. White plays a nice move. He plays f6 in this position. Why is he playing that move? Well, he wants to block this diagonal. And also one thing, like if black plays, let's suppose, g into f6 in this position, then his king side will be damaged. So that is what exactly happened. He captured the pawn with the pawn. Okay, we'll see if he captures with the bishop, then obviously what we can do? Well, we can capture the bishop also exactly right now, or we can wait for some time and just play rook to the h3, because you can see that this queen is not able to come in the game from anywhere, because this knight is centrally placed and it is controlling all these important squares. That is the fact. And next move we are going to play knight f6, gf6, and the queen will come on h4 and queen h7 checkmate will not be stopped. Okay, so black plays g into f6 in this position, and now queen comes in the game. And now there is a threat of rook h3 and queen into h7 checkmate. So black hurries in this position and plays rook to the g8 because he wants to play rook g7, protecting the checkmate on h7. But in this position, white plays a very nice move. He plays knight into f6, further threatening queen into h7. And if black plays, let's suppose, bishop into f6, if queen into f6, rook g7 is the only move, and after rook to the g3, he is completely paralyzed. He will play rook to the g8. The similar position happened in the game also, and in this position white can simply win by playing h4, h5, h6 because this queen is quite far from the game. Okay, we'll see what happened in the game. In the game he played rook g7, almost similar position. He played rook to the g3, and now bishop into f6, queen into f6. The rook on g7 is getting checkmated, like queen into g7 will come and it is a checkmate. So black plays rook c g8, and this is exactly position which we were analyzing. And in this position white plays a very nice move that he understands. Okay, h4 h5 is a possibility, but he understands that one of his pieces on a1, the rook is not participating in the game, and he plays rook to the d1. Now his idea is to just simply capture on d6, and the rook will come and we have the possibility of playing rook d8, and this rook will also be pinned. So just for the sake of clarity, I will tell you, like if suppose black plays a5, a random move, then we can play rook into d6. Still the queen cannot do anything on this diagonal because all these squares are controlled by us. And let's suppose he plays a4, then we have a nice move. We will just play rook into g7, and after rook into g7, it is a check and mate. So for this reason black plays one move which is also losing for him. He plays d5 in this position, and now white plays a very nice move, that is rook into g7, because after rook into g7 white will play rook into d5, attacking the queen and also threatening rook d8 check, and it is a mate. So in this position black resigned. So this game shows us that what happens when our knight is centrally placed. It controls your opponent's very good pieces, like the way it happened in this game. So always try to put your knight in the center of the board, and then slowly and gradually increase the pressure against your opponent's king. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you will share with your friends also. If you are not subscribed to my channel till now, then do subscribe. We'll meet in the next video with some nice game. Till then, take care and bye.